Hello, everybody. It's the me, Game Penguin 21, and today, alright, part 2 then. I know that I released a ton of videos over the course of this week, and there should be more videos coming, and one of the big ones that is probably going to be releasing next month is dumb things that people have said, at least a top 10 video, and I'm already working on a sequel to that one as well because I like to have at least 4 or 5 videos in the pipeline for this in between salt content, but this stuff is just to kind of set a baseline for what I want to have happen here. I know that I said that I would release less salt content, and it still is going to be a thing, but I might release like less content overall, or at least slow it down to a point where I am comfortable releasing videos for you guys within a reasonable time frame. Tuesday will still be my upload day, but again, Thursdays and Saturday videos will probably either slow down or, at least for in the case of Saturday, might cease completely or just be a random day that I upload or stream something. I don't know. At the end of the day, right here, right now, I think that this is the most important thing to talk about, which is the salt on the internet. With all that being said, if you like what it is I do, want to support me in any other way, shape, or form, links down to everything in the description below. But with that being said, let's get started. So, of course, we're going to pick up here with Goat Gaming, talking about how gaming journalists, Associated Press, blaming PlayStation for the theme of the Super Bowl halftime show for its apparent failure. West Coast rappers usually don't play on Xbox, which, according to sources, is the biggest gaming platform at over 500 million MAU. Where are you getting 500 million monthly active users from? Because of a lot of the sources that I've come across, it's only 130 something monthly active users. Saying that there's over 500 million monthly active users on PlayStation, I think is a lie, because that's kind of dumb. Because again, Steam has over 130 massive of the users, and again, in all of the other sources that I have had, there is nothing close to 150 million on any platform, like even for PlayStation and even for PC that I could find that's like being tracked. Where are you getting 500 million monthly active users for? But it was interesting because a lot of people talked about this specifically in terms of how bad it was, or quote unquote how bad it was. But the thing with this is that, yeah, he apparently did take some influence from PlayStation, I guess. I don't know the full story about it. But, like, if you're going to report on a story saying, oh, yeah, gaming journalisms are bashing this failure because of this, but then gonna give completely wrong information in terms of monthly active users and in terms of specifics, I don't really trust your report here. Like, that's, like, by God. Anyway. Next up here, we have Nicola talking about does PlayStation Studios make games anymore, showing off 4 of the different games here that were basically shown off at various different ways, which I will say, all 4 of these don't seem to have gameplay right now, at least at the time I'm recording this video. You have to remember I'm recording this usually a week in advance, so if that changes, I will post up a correction, probably here or in the comments. But again, check dates. But again, going through each of these, we have one that is shown off. That was it's the space game. I don't remember the actual name of it, but again, haven't really shown off much in terms of gameplay or even cinematics in that context. We then have the Solaris, or the Sonor or whatever. That one, again, only got a CGI trailer. We then have Wolverine, which we haven't heard anything about past, say, a leak of the early game, which, I mean, again, goes to show you how good the Sony security is. And then Ghost of Yotai, which only really has a release date sometime maybe this year. I don't know. And, like, all 4 of these games are in development, yes, but we haven't seen anything of them. And they could be canceled. Like, for all we know, Wolverine is just there for the sake of being there. Like, we haven't seen any gameplay, haven't had just a CGI trailer, and, like, what the fuck? So yeah, they don't make games anymore. They're not making many games until, like, later this year. Again, specifically talking about the PlayStation Showcase. Next up here, we have Porter Rock 77 saying, and these clowns have the nerve to say Sony is moving away from the console business. Man, shut the F up. Talking about how the financial reports of this are selling a huge amount. And again, here's another interesting thing where someone says, oh, they have over 500,000 units, where this person in this context is actually quoting from a, thing says that they went from 6 million from 123 million active users. Million active users during this thing, blah, 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 5.9 million units. And again, it's like, when people put out numbers like this, it always infuriates me because if you don't get the specifics of the numbers correctly, it just, like, how does your math work? But continuing on here, PorterRock77 coming back with another tweet of PlayStation generating 128.1 billion, 865 million. That's in terms of dollars and yen, if you want to convert. For the first-party games on the content of PlayStation platforms in 2024, up 71% year over year. This is primarily attributed to Helldivers 2, as well as ports released on Steam. 71% is a massive leap year over year because, technically speaking, that's a huge amount, nearly doubling your entire revenue stream, at least in terms of this. Again, this is on non-PlayStation platforms specifically. PlayStation has games on PC and Xbox and Nintendo, and they combined to 865 million. Meanwhile, Spider-Man 2, with just 3 months, made 770 million by itself on PS5 alone. I guess, but at the same time, in that context, how do you know? I mean, how do you know how many times that they've actually made it if you do the actual math here? Saying, yeah, it made 77 million by itself on PS5 alone in 3 months. I mean, that's still only one game that was released, and this is only including sales from non-PlayStation game stuff. I don't know. It's very strange. I don't know whose data points are always weird here. It's just very weird to be talking about this. But let's move on for a different thing and talk about some weird Xbox defense in this context, where someone says bingo when they're retweeting an @ message or like some sort of message from this person here, I guess, who says Xbox is doing what Amazon did back in the day. Xbox is getting the market share. When Xbox gets the market share, everything will be Xbox. When Xbox's games are everywhere, I bet you casuals and others will say, hey, why don't I buy an Xbox? When all the gamers see all these games are made by Xbox, it will sell their consoles. If Xbox is making all of these games and I have a PC, I'm thinking I'm good. But if I have a Nintendo or PlayStation and all those platforms aren't giving me games, I'm going to say Xbox has so many titles I want to play. Why don't I try their console? And if I can't afford all of their games because there are so many, maybe I'll get their console and Game Pass. I'm telling you, Xbox flooding the market will get them market share of the gaming industry and will boost their hardware once these gamers on these other platforms see what Xbox has to offer. I'm not sure if that's actually fully the case. There is kind of a nugget of truth here from what I think. I think that Xbox is definitely going for their market share, but I don't think that they necessarily care about hardware anymore. They said so themselves. But I do think that there is a bit of a nugget of truth here, where, the PC people get all the games and stuff, obviously. But again, when you have people talking about like both Xbox and PlayStation and stuff, so most people tend to stick with what they know. Now, again, that's not to say that this won't affect people in terms of marketing, because they see the Xbox logo everywhere and Xbox is becoming a thing. It's kind of like when everything was a Nintendo at one point and people were like, oh, are you going to play on that Nintendo? Talking about like an Xbox thing. So I guess in that context, maybe. But overall, if they're trying to be the Amazon of gaming, I don't know, they're doing it right. It's whatever. I think that they're trying to get their market share for sure. That's like fully solid. The rest of this, I'm not too certain on it. But interesting theory and overall. Next up here, we have DemiFlow talking about how, imagine giving a review of a video game and deducting points because it is on Game Pass, a subscription service or a certain platform. Do you even play games for real? And this person knocked off a couple points. Says not a live service game kind of way, but an original Netflix movie kind of way. It makes me like the product and built for a subscription service. That, yikes. That is very weird to actually put into a review, in an official review, by the by. And the Red Dragon comes back, I guess, trying to clap back, saying, here's the thing. Everyone knows exactly what it means when you say a game feels like a Game Pass game. Xbox did this to themselves, and ever since they were making games for Game Pass, quality has suffered ever since. I mean, there are several games out there where you could say that that's not the case, and again, people still buy these games, but I guess it's like, this is kind of the weird thing. Like, both of the logics here just don't make any sense. The person who's questioning, like, why put in the live service or the subscription service game in the first place in your review, that to me doesn't make much sense. Like, why does it matter if given an option to buy it on a subscription service rather than like buy the game outright? Like, why does that feel to me like that's a dumb thing to talk about and put as a pain point or a point in the thing? Saying like, oh yeah, this thing is on a subscription based service, and it feels like a good game that is made for that system. Like, how does that make any sense for video games? Like, I get for maybe movies and like TV shows and stuff, but the comparison here just doesn't make any sense in the first place, at least to me. And yeah, certainly some people, when they say like a bad garbage game, they're saying, oh, that's just a Game Pass game if it's made for Xbox, and we kind of use it as a joke. But like, using it as a legitimate or quote unquote legitimate criticism, I keep knocking into things, quote unquote legitimate criticism here is stupid and it's dumb. And I don't get anything here. But yes. Next up, we have Dustin and Nicola kind of duking it out a little bit, saying, I don't understand how PlayStation fans can see that the PS5 at 75 million and the PS4 at 76 million are in the same time frame, and will still jump in my replies and say that the console market is growing. And how this is basically giving out, again, numbers of things and saying being 1.9% behind the second most successful PlayStation in history after price hikes, COVID, and the wave of Grand Theft Auto 4 releasing, or Grand Theft Auto 7, 6, fuck numbers, man, releasing, and still have faux concerns about what console gaming growth is sensational. Switch is about to outsell the PS2, mind you. Now, I have thoughts on this. I think the main thought here is that I guess being 1.6%, 1.98% behind the second most successful PlayStation in history is not terrible. But saying that, like, if they're trying to experience growth year over year and the number that you currently have is less than the number that was being had by a different console, doesn't that show like the opposite of growth in one way, shape, or form? And while some people might say, oh, but the Switch here, yes, the Switch is a different product. It's in a different price category. It's actually in a different league if you kind of think about it. Because the Switch is a console people buy as a secondary console or a tertiary console. A console that you have for side stuff that you don't want to have on your main gaming machine, at least for the most part. That's the way that I think a lot of other people say that they have. I have a friend who used to play on their Switch all the time back when they first got it, but now that they have like a PC or now that they're playing other games, they don't really play on the same gaming thing. That's the same reason why I got a Steam Deck. I got it initially because it worked a lot with the lifestyle that I had at the time. When I went to college, I was traveling a lot and I wanted a gaming thing that was easy and lighter to carry. What was funny is that overall, my laptop weighed more than a work laptop and the Steam Deck combined, or at least it felt like it was because of the way that the weight distribution happened. So when I realized that, this laptop became kind of a home laptop, and I set it up for other things. Like, that's the difference and the reason why when we have new technology, the technology does for other things. And again, I brought it up in my Balatro review, but I now use it as like a Balatro machine, which is not a dig against the Steam Deck. It's just that I use the Steam Deck and my main computer for other reasons other than just mainly gaming. So that's why I think a lot of people use that. They use the Switch as a travel companion or a side console to go alongside their main console. Hence why it's different and not the same comparison-wise, at least from what I can tell. Next up here, for all the people in the back who still think that Jim Ryan was a quote-unquote good CEO, he then had said that Jim Ryan forced the person here out of the first party and into an indie role, allowing new management to completely torpedo PlayStation Studios' pipeline, which a lot of people are now kind of eating their own fucking shoes out of their goddamn mouth because they put their foot in it back in the day when they said, hey, this man saved PlayStation. This man did everything great and amazingly done for PlayStation, when he was literally kind of not, because it was really funny. And now they're saying like Odd AI is here with appointing Jim Ryan as CEO instead of Chanel was the worst mistake PlayStation has ever made in years, when I'm 90% certain that people like him about 2 or 3 years ago, when Jim Ryan actually went out from being the CEO, basically were kissing his heels saying, you left PlayStation in a much better state and it was really good and blah, blah, blah. We'll come back to this in a bit. Not this specific one, but back to the CEO thing in a little bit. But going out to Black Ops Risk It, I guess, saying this guy saw a Metacritic score of Avowed, which is subject to the Xbox tax, quote unquote, but still good. Then made a whole post about the quality of Avowed without even playing the game. It's kind of low IQ fanboyism, ruining game discourse. Okay, the Gaming Hall of Fame and the quality of that. Basically that. I'm going to leave this up while I just talk over this. To give you a kind of bare bones thing here, saying that Avowed is just a pathetic reminder that Xbox has no idea about how to deliver quality, being soulless and generic. Barely scratching the surface of what's to be expected in the current year. Avowed would be stuck under 80% in terms of critic scores here, like critic scores even really matter. In my opinion, Sony plans to expand on buying studios. They should buy things such as From Software, CD Projekt Red, and several others. But one of the ones that he includes in here is Capcom. Why? I have no clue if you know Capcom's history. It's very strange. But still, again, this is like, what the fuck? And it doesn't seem like he's actually played it, and he just kind of posted this out. I don't know if he's played it. I don't care if he's played it. It just is one of those things where it's stupid. Next up here, we have Kingdom Come Deliverance, talking about how they made Kingdom Come a 9 out of 10. Good job, IGN, doing actually correct reviews, or at least reviews that a lot of people will agree with, saying in many ways Kingdom Come really feels like it picked up right and run with the reactive first-person RPG that Bethesda left lying in the mud years ago. IGN bringing up console war in the review is diabolical. Yes, gaming journalism is a joke. Now, I don't know what he means by this. I think it's because they mentioned Bethesda, which is quote unquote an Xbox studio now. But no. Bethesda did actually kind of, drop the ball when it comes to making a pretty in-depth RPG in terms of at least Starfield. It was good for a time. Don't get me wrong. It was a good game. It just wasn't fantastic. It was another Bethesda game, and that's what I kind of expected to be another Bethesda game. So, yeah. But overall here, what was kind of dumb was comparing Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 to Bethesda games, and specifically talking about how Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is like them, because Kingdom Come Deliverance, the series, is more hardcore than Bethesda games, where Bethesda games tend to take on a little bit more of either a fantasy type or, I guess, a post-apocalyptic type, which isn't really, comparable in terms of several different aspects. But, again, talking about how, they're bringing up console warism because they mentioned Bethesda, and they're making a comparison, which is actually an okay comparison. What the hell are we on here, people? I don't know. Next up here, we're talking about more of the other thing, where this is again talking about the PlayStation Showcase and how apparently upgrading Days Gone remastered. You actually bought the original game, but the version you get on PS Plus is not applicable. It is just I don't know why I saved this, but that's a pretty interesting thing where, yeah, you can get an upgrade, but the one you got on PS Plus is not applicable, I guess, in terms of trying to upgrade Days Gone. Um, I get, like, again, buying the game on PS Plus is bad and it doesn't actually apply to it, but it depends on the console, I guess. I don't really know. Like, again, if you bought it from PS Plus or you have PS Plus subscription and you use it, why is the remaster not for PS Plus if you're gonna make it for the um hmm. But next up, we're going to talk about a couple of random gaming news to kind of finish this off. We're going to quick fire through these because these are just dumb ones that I just happen to have found here. Michael G talking about how this was so fast with Dexterto coming out with Elon Musk has confirmed that he is starting an AI studio to, quote, make games great again. I've already said this in a past video, but fuck AI games. Fuck anything that having to do with AI in video games, unless it's for like the actual intelligence of the gaming characters, in which case that's a different AI system. But if he's making an AI game studio where he's going to utilize everything aspect-wise to make AI-generated games, fuck that. No. Gaming is art. Art is created by people, and people are whatever. Next up from the quickfire, we have that Sony making Jim Ryan step down. This, I've already really covered this, so we can just kind of skip past this and edit that out. This one is actually not from Twitter. This one is from Blue Sky, where Bendal kind of retweets Kotaku, which, great news source, by the way. Fuck you. But that was a joke. Not fuck the person. Fuck Kotaku. They saying that the objective quote on the headline is one that's weird, saying that he can't let the YouTube community down. If I fail, it is over. No streaming platforms will ever touch a creator again, which I don't think that that's the case. I think that like Mr. Beast will maybe put a setback on YouTube communities doing this, but people have also like gotten YouTube people to do other things. Like, it doesn't matter. And it's kind of dumb that he thinks that this is the way. And again, I think that this is more or less one of his not so good takes, and it's kind of cold. But having this sort of Jesus complex in this context is a little bit weird to me. So yeah, generally speaking, let's just not touch that. Mr. Beast has gotten enough flack for it, but overall, that kind of doesn't kill him for me, but that's like a very just dumb opinion to have. Next up here, we have J-Dub, and this is kind of circling back to some of the stuff that I was talking about earlier, where Sabia basically talked about how PC Day and Date will never happen. PC strategy is to target China's demographic, not cheap-ass CD keys gamers or Xbox stuff. Now, I'm not certain if this actually was said during the interview that he basically posts here, and saying like, oh yeah, PC Day and Date will not happen, saying the PC's strategy is to target China's demographic. Okay. So in that context, wouldn't releasing Day and Date within China be better and more profitable, because then you'd have a far more bigger reaching thing? Is PS Plus even available in China? I don't even know. But saying that PC Day and Date will never happen, did he even say that? Like, that's my biggest thing here. Like, you're quoting him, but then you also say paraphrasing. So that means that he didn't say this word for word. He'd never said that PC Day and Date will never happen. He just said that, like, the PC strategy seems to be targeting China's demographic of growing PC stuff, so releasing Day and Date would make it better. What the fuck, Jay? Either quote him or don't. Don't put quotes in your thing if you're not actually going to quote the man, all right? You also say paraphrasing here. Like, pick a lane, one or the other. Next up here, we're talking about Avowed again, where both games are on Game Pass, talking about both Stalker 2 and Avowed, and how both games have different concurrent amounts of players. I don't care. I honestly would love Stalker 2. Stalker 2 looks pretty decent. I'm going to wait a little bit, not for any particular reason of the game being bad, but for the particular reason of I have no money. But it looks fantastic. Avowed never really looked like my cup of tea until I saw some of the gameplay, in which case I looked like Skyrim, but kind of updated better and on a different engine, which is fine. But again, The Avowed thing also kind of shot itself in the foot with several other controversies, so whatever. We'll see what it happens. Maybe this number will be far different. Maybe it won't be. But, again, yeah, the other school of thought being that the Metacritic score for them has gone down for it, 6.5 being average, which is fine. And saying that, like, it's an Xbox quality game, blah, blah, blah. And yeah, so those two cool thoughts are for Avowed. And that really kind of wraps up this whole thing having to do with the internet being very, very stupid today. So what did we learn, ladies and gentlemen? Well, apparently we learned that Elon Musk didn't get the backlash or understand fucking anything. We learned that Mr. Beast seemingly has some sort of complex that may or may not be Jesus related, though I don't want to really pin that on him. We learned that the mid-ass games of states happens to have been portrayed as it being victorious and great for a lot of reasons that no one really wants to list off. Apparently, PC Day and Date will never come, despite the fact that they want to target China's sort of market, which would make it better to release the game's day and date, and that there are several other hypocritical things here in the works that just apparently this month happened to have today. Oh boy. So yeah, again, a very big and kind of a long end of month video here, but again, like I said, I'm transferring jobs, there's going to be other things happening, and I might make an update video or something to that effect. Overall, this month, a little bit crazy, and it's only February, so who knows what might happen in the later date. Overall, I think that that'll about do it for this episode of I Rant to a Microphone, supposedly about some very random topics that people may or may not like. If you like what it is that I do, want to support me in any other way, shape, or form, links down to everything in the description below. My name is GamePango21, and a peace off. Hey man!